think you ought to know. Black Men's Radio. The place where men and women really speak. Oh man, what a show. It's Men's Radio. This crazy show is on 3 times a week. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cost you no dough. Men's Radio, that's the place for you. With Russ Kane and Phil Dave.
Friday.
Wait a minute. It's Friday.
Yes.
Why are you not in?
Yes.
You know what's going on? What's happening?
Several things have been a bit weird today.
Go on.
First and foremost,
lay it on me, baby.
First and foremost, you're quite right in your assumption, in your assessment. I'm not at my usual place of work for a Friday.
No, you're not. You've been fired.
I've not been fired yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm working on it, but I've not been fired yet.
Sure, I've seen you work, mate.
It's very strange, actually. There's not many people who could sort of say the only plus side of getting fired is they get some sleep. But anyway,
yeah, your schedule's just bloody nuts. Veronica, hope you're well and the storm's not too brazen up there in Edinburgh.
Well, quite. I am currently from home because later on today I'm making a trip.
You're taking drugs?
No. Can you keep a secret?
I won't tell the dog. Ebony, shush. Okay, go on.
I'm going to Cheltenham this weekend.
We're there looking good. There's the colours of Her Majesty the Queen. It's Phil Dave on Holla Boy looking a little bit frisky as not that Cheltenham. You're not going to the races.
Well, I'm going to the place. I'm not going to the races.
What are you doing in Cheltenham?
Well, I've got a very good friend of mine who recently moved there, so I'm going to go and visit.
Does he know?
Of scenery.
Do they know?
It'll be sprung on him last minute. No, absolutely. I thought that what I'd do is I'd have a little change of scenery because obviously we're all going slightly crackers, especially what with these new restrictions and what have you. So
I've given up. I'm not even following it. I don't even know what's going on.
Might I say these new old restrictions coming back to haunt us? So I thought, well, whilst I can, I'm going to go and have a little change of scenery before we all get told, no, you can't even leave your front door.
I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring it this time.
Good Lord. But anyway, so there you go. So that's exactly sort of what I'm doing this weekend. And then the second thing that's very peculiar, I'm wearing a T-shirt.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but I've never, in all the many, many years that I've known you, seen you dressed like this. This is like you just got out of bed or something.
No, I know. Well, I have actually. No, I'm joking. Can I tell you why though? Because if I step behind, keep talking amongst yourself. If I step behind my little screen here,
good God, look at this. Thank God he's got trousers on. That's the main thing. Because for a little minute, I'm worried. I thought we were going to see the Phil Dave Tuchus wandering around. But I could live without that. Chrissy Richards has dashed across the space. God knows what he's doing. I have no idea. He's a world in his own. Hi, boys. I just got back from shopping. I'm a knackered. Paul Andrews, I assume Phil has been in the nick. And then I don't know what the hell he's doing. I've got to tell you that Phil is just, you think he puts it on. In real life, is even weirder. This is him toned down. Phil, what are you doing for Christ's sake? God almighty, what's that?
Today is Christmas.
Starsky and Hutch want their cardigan back.
No, it is a bit Starsky and Hutch, but today is Christmas jumper day.
Not in my house.
This is the nearest I get to Christmas jumper.
What is your mother wearing a Christmas jumper?
This better be worth it because I just walloped my funny bone on the bookshelf and it is not funny. Anyway.
No, it hurts.
You mentioned Chrissy Richards.
All this year I'm off to sunny Spain. Viva España.
Seems a little bit weird actually bouncing along to sunny Spain and I'm wearing a cardi, but never mind.
It's bloody cold today. I was out in that rain yesterday. Oh, God, last night. What the hell was that? Oh, by the way, before we do our first guest, because we've got so much to crack on with, I took your advice and I took Shanta's advice and I started watching Black Mass. What's the matter? Have you gone into shock? Black Mass. What's the matter with you? Hello, Doris Stokes. Are you there? Let's join hands and join the living. What's going on? What's the matter?
You said join hands, so I was trying to sort of be clever and sort of make out as if.
But Edinburgh is that blinding winter sun, but had that awful scrape the windscreen time. I love it. Yeah, Paul, Mike, and Glazer in the house.
Who that?
Paul Michael Glazer. Oh, you're so young. Starsky and Hutch, for God's sake. Paul Michael
Okay.
Glazer.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Today. Yeah. Did you told us about Black Mass? You said you started watching Black Mass.
Black Mass?
Oh, for God's sake.
I've literally no idea what you're talking about.
Midnight Mass.
You mean?
Midnight Mass.
Oh, Midnight Mass. No, Midnight Mass is terrific.
Oh, God almighty. Pulling teeth. Should we bring on our first guests? Which was, I spoke to them earlier today. Are we prepared to do this, young Phil? Because I have no idea what.
There's a spring. Right. And what I like is for continuity, you're wearing the same shirt. That could have been very awkward.
No, obviously I'm wearing the same shirt because I put it on first thing this morning when I did the interview at the crack of dawn. This is interesting. You remember Barry from EastEnders, the fabulous Sean Williamson. I think that's how it goes. And the thing about very, very good. This time of year, not thievery, but chicanery and scamming is an all-time high. So I thought this was a really good thing. If Phil, you'd be kind enough to press button B, get your 2p back, we can see what happened when I spoke to Sean Williamson and a Grand Fromage from Nationwide. Christmas, everybody goes crazy and gets gifts. I don't. But everyone, I never received them either, come to think of it. Actually, I've got to review my entire life. But it's also a time when people take advantage, and you got to be really, really careful. Now, I managed to get him off the high seas and scaring Tinkerbell and everybody. I managed to get him, which is marvelous. And also from Nationwide. So it's only, for God's sake, it's only Sean Williamson and Ed Fisher. What?
Hello, Russ.
Hello, you. How very, very nice. Thank you so much for dropping in and seeing the show. And how busy you guys are. You got 2 shows today, Sean?
I have got 2 shows today. Yes, I'll be blacking my beard up. It's all nice and grey at the moment.
Well, mine's just gone. Later. I took all mine off this week.
Yeah, what happened?
I just thought I look like, well, they kept coming at me from Harrods and Selfridges. Do you want a job in the grotto? And I said no. So I took it off. Right. Tell us why you're here, because this is all about scamming, looking after your money, looking after yourself, and not scratching your nose when you've got a hook.
That's it, and remembering which hand to wipe with, exactly. Yeah, it's all in. So listen. The reason why. Sorry, I'm sorry. There's a reason. The reason why I'm delighted to get involved with the Nationwide on this is because I remember my mum had dementia and she was constantly being plagued with phone calls. You know, people trying to get money off of her. You will. Have your phone account shut down unless you send us £90-odd. Me and my sister had to take over her finances, you know. So I hate these people with a passion. So it's a pleasure to team up with Nationwide. I've been lucky personally. I've got numerous instances that I can give you of friends and family who've lost money. But only yesterday, I thought I might need Skype today. I don't think I'm going to need it, but I couldn't remember. It's 18 months since I've used it at the start of lockdown. So I couldn't remember the password, so my wife and me changed on the Microsoft account. We went back to an old password. Soon remembered why we stopped using it, because instantly I start getting the things. You've been watching dodgy videos. We got footage of you. We're going to expose you.
But that is true. But Sean, in your case, they weren't wrong. In your case, that was it. They weren't wrong. No.
Yeah, but I don't want everyone else knowing.
No, obviously not. It wouldn't be good. You're doing Panto, for God's sake. I don't want the kids to know. Do you know what, Sean? This so resonates. And Ed, I'm going to jump onto you in a sec. But my mum had dementia for 16 years. We were plagued. And like you, Sean, I loathe these people. Yeah. They were absolute scum. Yeah. They were scum. And it got my mum, unless you've experienced it with an older person, it got my mum into the most terrible state. And I had to, like you, step in and deal with it. But it's very frightening. Ed, I'm so glad Nationwide are like taking this seriously, because all too often, it's up to the well, I was going to say kids, but look at me and Sean, up to the children to deal with this stuff. So Ed, this is something you're dealing with at Nationwide. What's the story here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think doing this with Sean is fantastic because he's so passionate about this. If you think about some of the stats when you start off, so in the first half of this year, 2021. You've got more than £350 million that is going out of our accounts, or out of your mum's accounts, whatever it might be, into the fraudsters' pockets. And that's really quite scary, isn't it? And if you think about kind of what's going on there, the reason we're raising awareness of purchase scams at the moment is because about half of those scams are purchase scams. About half of those scams are where people they've got fake goods. They've got websites that don't exist, things that turn up. Some of them might, with retrospect, seem like a little bit of a joke, where you think you're ordering a sofa and it's a doll's house sofa. But there's also those really horrible cases where, as Sean was saying earlier on, people are losing their life savings. It's really nasty stuff, and they're out there, and they are trying to get at your money.
It's interesting because this is something I've been banging on about for ages. We've been banging on about it on men's radio as well, and hooray for Nationwide. In all seriousness, I have no association with you guys apart from walking past your branches like everybody else, that you've taken it seriously, and you've picked up the challenge to this. Well, have you got advice of what we can do and that sort of thing, how to protect like Sean's mum and my late mum?
Absolutely. So the really key thing here is obviously we, the banks, it's not a competitive thing for us. We want to stop the crime. We're monitoring accounts. We're looking at everything we can. We're doing what we can in the background, but we've got to accept the fact that we're not going to stop them all. And actually, the best defense against this issue is really the awareness of everybody, because that's what they're preying on. They're preying on a lack of awareness. They're preying on. We've done some surveys recently. And one of the things that's quite alarming is 47% of people that we surveyed, they know someone this has happened to. So this is going on. And what's even more worrying is, whilst a lot of us are worrying about it, only about 35%, call that 1 in 3, call that a third of us, we think it's just not going to happen to us. We think we're tech savvy, we think we know what we're doing. But the reality is they'll give you that bargain. They'll give you that thing that is not available anywhere, that I don't know, that toy, that must-have designer item is suddenly back in stock on this site. You can suddenly get it at a cut-down price. And unfortunately, human nature, we do dive in. We dive in, we trust the site, we trust the brand. You might be buying something on a marketplace site. It might be whatever it is, Gumtree, Facebook, eBay. Just to mention a few, it's not those sites, it's not those companies. They're fine, but it's a
Could you expand on that? Could you expand on that, Ed, just a little bit, because I want to make it clear, not just for legal reasons, but they're doing their best. It's not them doing the scamming. Right, it's not the Gumtrees of the world. This is the point. It's
it's the bad actor, and teaming up with Sean is kind of really, really timely on this, because it's who's behind it. That's what you've got to think about. It's who's behind it. The tips that we want to give are things like, do your research. So if it potentially is a little bit too good to be true, or this massively good deal, do your research. What you'll find is a genuine company will have some kind of footprint. You can look at Trustpilot, you can look at some of these other sites and review what's going on. Don't just read their site. Go do what we call go off-site. Go and find something else on the internet. It might only take you 5-10 minutes, but it really will be 5-10 minutes well spent if you can find out a bit more about, is that company genuine? Do you know who you're dealing with?
When you were researching all of this, is it UK based? It's worldwide based? Is it coming out of somebody's back bedroom in Moscow or something? I mean, where's it stemming from?
To be frank, it's a mix. It's a mix of all of those. The thing about the modern day is the scammer can use technology, just like when the whole world's changed, isn't it? In the last 18 months, they can be operating from anywhere. They can call you up from absolutely anywhere. They can try and get to your accounts from anywhere. And that's why we're trying to say to people, for example, make sure you're paying with something that's secure. Use your card. Use something like PayPal or one of those intermediary sites, because that's going to give you protection. If they start asking for bank transfers and those kind of things, that's when you've got to be really, really careful, because your legitimate companies, it's almost certainly going to be the case. They're going to offer those secure methods, because it's the guys that are operating in those different areas. That's how they can get at your money with a bank transfer.
It is shocking. Have you managed to sort out, Sean? You managed to sort out your mum and protect her? You and your family.
Yeah, well, she passed on in July, but weirdly, on the day that she was due to go into the care system to get her into a home, she managed to live independently to the end of her life. But like you said, we just had to take over her finances, you know, but because just to save her doing this sort of thing. She obviously made sure she had plenty of money, but she was old fashioned. She liked cash. She was robbed at a cash point. You know, it's just I won't go on and on, but it's interesting because I know you focus a lot on health on this program, and some of the people that from that I've been looking online. Obviously, some of these. One woman said she felt she'd been groomed. That's how she felt. It was so convincing. She thought it was her bank. If someone else had done it, she'd have thought they were stupid. And other people quote themselves as feeling abused, silly, embarrassed, nervous. You know, it just kills people's trust as well, which is tragic, really, because most people are quite trusting or want to be trusting. And when that's knocked or abused, that's one more person gone. You know, it's terrible.
You know, the reason I grabbed both of you guys to come onto the show is because people might say, well, what's this got to do with mental health? And I think, Sean, you've beautifully encapsulated. It's got a lot to do with mental health because you feel all of those emotions. You do feel embarrassed, so sometimes you won't report it. So heaven knows, Ed, how much of this doesn't go reported because you feel like a complete twerp. You know, you think, oh, everyone's going to laugh at me, and that whole thing of not trusting, especially as you get older. Well, any age, but especially as you get older, it has a very detrimental effect. You don't want to feel under pressure like that.
Well, it's really interesting because Ed said with the survey, he's been saying that the people most at risk are the young or the old. The old because of reasons we've just said, but the young are so tech savvy they think it won't happen to them, and teenagers know everything, don't they?
Everything.
It's not going to happen to them. I know
it's amazing. Yeah, they're just we're just complete Luddite dinosaurs, and they're geniuses. And we just have to accept that till they go, Dad. What? I'm sorry. Oh, you need my help. Oh, that's weird. Because I thought you were a genius. Right now, while you're on, it behooves me to say this. I know that Ed's appearing in Pants. No, I'm kidding. Where are you performing? Sure. Go on, give me the plug. I hope you don't mind, Ed. But it'd be rude of me not to do it. So I know it's Peter Pan, which I did twice. I did that with Russ Abbott. Did it twice. Where are you performing?
I'm in Bournemouth at the Pavilion Theatre, so it's a beautiful part of the world. If anyone wants to pop down, probably be a bit chilly, but it's a beautiful town.
Bournemouth's great.
It's just all that, Russ, with the pandemic, you know. But so far the audiences have been great. They've been turning up. We've got some good bookings over Christmas, so it's just everything crossed that we can get through this Panto season without any closures, and that'd be fantastic.
And I'm not just putting in because I kind of known Sean and I wanted to support the arts as well. But again, for mental health, people want to go out. We've been so cooped up for like 2 years, and it would be tragic to cancel it. People need.
Exactly, and Pantos is very much grandparents taking their grandchildren. That's quite a strong link. Totally. So I just everything crossed really, Russ. You know.
And I know how hard, but believe me, I did it for 9 years. It is. Ed, you think you work harder nationwide? Try doing a season of Panto. You are knackered.
Well, I'm bringing the beard in, so you know.
It's very what. So if Sean wants a rest,
he's my understudy.
We'll start him off playing Smee or somebody like that. That would be.
I'd love to say I know what you're talking about, but
right in the Panto, there's some silly pirates, which I always gave me. They always lumbered me with that part, and one of them was called Smee, and I can't remember the name of the other one.
He's the sort of psychic. It's normally Smee and a dame, isn't it?
There's a Smee, and
the Panto dame. But Ed, you'd love it. You'd soon get hooked.
Very. Very good. Ed Fisher, Sean Williamson, so thank you so much. I know how busy you are today. I know how difficult it was to try and squeeze you in, but bless you. Thank you so much for joining us on Men's Radio. Have a great season and season's greetings. I can say that.
Same to you.
Anybody. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was nice.
This is like Victoria Station here today. We haven't got time to even chit-chat. Time to bring on the guy we dreaded the most at Capital Radio presenters meetings. And I will tell you why in a second. Please welcome to the house. It's only Neil Young.
Am I ever going to live that down?
Never, ever. Can I explain?
Yeah, go on. I've got a perfectly good justification for why I did it.
No bloody justification.
You
Neil and I work. Neil and
explain
I.
whilst I'm trying to get my mouse to work. That's fine.
All right, you do that. Neil and I worked together for many, many years at the Capitol and became good chums. And the lovely thing about working there is we're still all the gang. They thought it was just an act, you know, like on the other stations, but it wasn't. We became good friends. We still are. So they used to call what they had a presenters. This was the worst thing for our mental health. Presenters meeting with the world's scariest man, who was our boss. I've never worked for anybody so terrifying before or since. Terrifying. And we'd all sit there because he didn't care. And we'd all sit there and we'd get through this sort of hour and a half meeting, mostly haranguing, thinking, oh, thank God we've got. And then suddenly, just as it was about to close, Neil would put his hand up every bloody time. Richard, could I? We'd all, and I'd be sitting next to Tarrant, and Tarrant and I simultaneously go, oh, Jesus, no, Neil, please. And it would kick off every month. It became a standing show.
I'm never ever going to live that down, am I?
You can't. Chris and I still talk.
The thing was, I heard through the grapevine that he was kind of wanting people to take interest, and if you didn't ask a question, it would then be interpreted in that scary mind of his that you didn't care, and then it would bode badly on you.
Well, obviously, Neil, an interesting way to handle your resignation. I've been listening to the show, and that last link, I think we need to discuss it, Neil.
You know, at this stage, dear boy.
At this stage, dear boy, and I hope your next employer appreciates your particular style.
Interesting.
I only worked with who you refer to for precisely 1 week when I was on work experience at another radio.
Long enough.
That was
a week too long.
Seriously, he had the most extraordinary aura. Well, he has the most extraordinary aura about him. When he walks into the room falls silent. People sit up and listen, and they almost sit up and listen out the corner of their eye because they don't want to make eye contact in case the swings. It's the most extraordinary thing. Heaven forbid I had that level of gravitas. It would be horrible.
You don't want to be, but in all seriousness, for mental health, Phil, you don't want to be that guy. I'm not talking about the person. You don't want to be that person. You don't want, all these years later, nearly 20 years ago for Neil and I, we're still talking about it. But that's not why you called, to quote somebody well known. You've had you want to talk about mental health and everything like that. It's so lovely. I wanted to have you on the show for ages and ages and ages. It hasn't been possible. Tell us why you're here.
I just think it's so important to talk about. I think the whole subject of mental health is important to talk about. And I love the work you're doing. And anyway, I call myself a mental health advocate nowadays because everyone needs to advocate for something. So anything I can do to support you is great. But it's really pleasure, least I can do. But I had this whole experience with my mum and dementia and what she went through, what I went through. And it has a ripple effect into your whole life, to a degree that I didn't think was possible.
Totally.
Can you expand on that, Neil? When you say didn't think, what are we talking about here? When you said you didn't realize it was even possible to impact.
I mean, the word dementia is bandied around, isn't it? You know, we've all heard it, but until you've actually experienced it and been through that situation, it's maybe an awful lot more compassionate for other people that are going through it. I suppose anything would if you've been through it yourself. But it was just all in the mix: depression, fear, guilt, shame, on so many levels. So hang on,
because I think actually, again, I don't mean to butt in here, but this is interesting because Russ, you've said this as well. Why guilt? Where does that come from? It's not your fault.
I'll let Neil answer first.
It's a very good question. It can sometimes feel like it's your. If I give you a bit of back context, it'll make more sense.
Okay.
My dad. I always lived with my parents. It was one of the things I was very focused on career. So one thing I didn't actually get out and do was move out of home for very long. Apart from
does this resonate, Philip, at all?
Yes, I can resonate anyway.
And there's this kind of. Yes, it's easy and it's convenient, but at the same time, there's part of me that thinks I really should have moved out by now. Do you know what I mean? And then you kind of get, and it's just recently happened to a friend of mine. You kind of get into this routine, and you look back after 20 years and go, "Oh my God, I've been stuck in that pattern forever." Because at some level, we're kind of outgrowing it as well, I think. But my dad passed away New Year's Eve, 2014. Very, very suddenly. He was the most healthy, puts me to shame, healthy, fit. I mean, 6 months before he directed Scaffolding and was 2 stories up, you know, terrifying the life out of my mum and climbing up there. He used to play tennis, he used to swim. As far the way this has helped me, as far as death goes, sorry to be so blunt, he had a great one, because he was just literally happy, healthy, gone. No suffering, nothing like that. Horrible loss for the people that lost him. But
not for him. And if I had to choose, Neil, boo, that's what I'd pick that
every time. Every time I would too. If they were the cards that had to be dealt, I would. You know, who would want, who with any humanity would want to see anyone suffer, particularly someone that you love. So, you know, as deaths go, he won the jackpot, the jammy so and so. Great, you know, great way to go. It was 10 o'clock he collapsed, 4 o'clock he was gone. You know, that left me and my mum, and she changed overnight. It was like a switch flipped, and it was like, or before she was kind of, you know, flexible as we all are, you know, want to do this, want to do that. Oh, I might get a wood burner. Thinking about future, you know, life going on. Then she froze in time, and she became, rather than this kind of, I always had her pegged as quite young at heart, she turned into an old lady overnight. It was uncanny for me to see.
Awful to watch. Awful.
Yeah, and then it was a slow deterioration. The odd kind of, what's the word again? Oh, can we have? Oh, what's the word?
You know.
Yeah, you know. And I'm like, well, I don't know. What
you
in this case, it was lasagna, and she's known the word lasagna all along. And then a little bit more, and then she would try and sort of hide it, but that didn't serve her. And I sort of felt guilty because I was becoming more and more aware of it. And I almost felt like I was kind of, I didn't know if I was gaslighting her almost, trying to, not that I would do that, but sort of at some level, unconsciously sort of gaslighting her. No, you got that wrong. You're wrong again. No, I didn't. And then the lies, she would become like a child eventually. Like, can you turn the television over? Yeah, sure. What station do you want? I don't want the television turned over. Well, you just told me you did. No, I didn't. Oh, you're just after an argument, Neil. And after that, again and again and again, then it starts.
You know what, Neil, you're pressing with me. I mean, Phil, thank God, but with me, you're pressing so many buttons here. Man.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be silly. That's why you're here. That's why we have the station. That's why we have open conversations. That's what it's about. We don't want to put all these things under the carpet and not talk about it. When I say you're pressing buttons, I don't mean that don't do it. What I mean is do it, but it resonates so damn hard. Wow. It's just extraordinary. You know,
and the relationship changes of someone who, when you're born, you're completely dependent on that person. And then you're 2 adults. But then your mum goes from someone that you love to someone that you have to manage.
Well, the roles are reversed. You become the parent, they become the child.
Yeah. And not a very badly behaved, not very nice child as well, if you know what I mean. And this is like part of the degeneration. And the guilt, to answer your question, a long answer to a short question, comes in from there. Did I cause it? Because I would lose my temper. I'm not an angry person. I don't.
No, you're not. You're like.
I don't get into fights, like verbal or physical. It's just not me. I'm a pacifist, love and peace man. But this took me to a level of anger that I didn't know I could feel. And then I would start to tell myself.
I'm going to bring in. I want to bring in Chantal because she always has good things. I want to add her. Chantal Ricard's OBE. Thank God you brushed your hair. And Chantal joins us every Friday. So, hi, Chantal. I could see you
hello.
there. Then you went away. Then you came back.
Hi, nice to see you.
But it's lovely to have friends on the show. You know, you were listening to what Neil was saying, and it resonates. And this resonates with so many people. I think this is just my take, and then I'd like Chantal's opinion. I think the anger that you feel, Neil, and I never, Phil and I always say we're not doctors, we're not medically trained, we don't do any of that nonsense pretending, because you feel so frustrated, you feel your life just disappearing, and all the things that were the absolute foundations, go back to your dad, scaffolding upon which we as kids build our lives with our parents, it's just gone.
In a nutshell.
It's just gone.
Absolutely.
You don't know how to deal with those emotions.
Yes, absolutely, in a nutshell. And then the shame comes in because I feel, I read all these books. I read quite a lot of personal development. I should be able to deal with. You get lost in that awful, in the tyranny of should, and sometimes that you really don't know what to do in a situation. But thinking about it, how could you? We're not doctors. We're not trained in that way. I didn't even know it was dementia. Dementia's like kind of sneaky. It's like the greatest trick dementia pulled is convincing you it doesn't exist. And it uses the person it's got its talons into to convince you. It's nothing wrong with me. It's all denial. And it's a bit like when someone you know's got a child and then you see them 5 years later and the child shut up. Oh, you've grown, but to the person that they're with, they haven't. But it's when people she hadn't seen for a while came in, it's like, oh, she's changed. But I thought I was going a bit mad. I don't know if I was gaslighting myself or if it was I blame dementia. Dementia is the greatest gaslighter. It's flipping hideous.
Yeah,
it's like watching someone drown. Sorry, Chantal's going.
No, it's a thief. It steals. It steals in a terrible, terrible way everything that you think.
Slowly, insidiously. It's like you lose them twice. And everything I built my security on, like Russ says. So it felt like to me there was the 50-year-old, there was the 25-year-old, and the 5-year-old all running around at once. And I'm trying to negotiate all of these sort of parts of myself, if you like, while trying to think, what the hell am I going to do next with a completely unknown quantity, with something I didn't even know existed or not at that point. And it's oh God.
And as our listeners know, because I've talked about it a lot, not because of me, because I think it's a very important subject that doesn't get spoken about enough. I had this for 16 years with Mum. So when she finally 16 years. So when she finally died, I said, I lost my mum so many years ago. My mum went. That other person was the person that we had to care for, look after, make sure she was in good physical and as best we can, make sure she's comfortable. Wasn't my mum. No. Wasn't my mum at all. I don't know who she was.
It racked her body. When she actually passed away, I missed it by 15 seconds.
15. Oh, no.
Yeah, 15 seconds. Had to do a COVID test to get to the care home.
Oh,
and
so sorry.
I don't want to be graphic, but she looked like a ghoul.
Okay, we're grown up here.
She looked like a ghoul. I can see where the Hollywood horror filmmakers get their ideas for ghoulishness from. It looked like that.
Yeah.
It looked like that. It was.
Well, I tell you, Neil, I tell you what I did. I think Chantal, and certainly Phil knows this, is that I wanted all the carers in the care home not to see her as this shriveled little old woman who was unrecognizable. I took a picture of her in her heyday and I said, who's this? They went, oh my God, what a gorgeous, who is that? I said, that's her.
Wow.
Sitting over there. And it was like that because they realized inside was that other person somewhere.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
That's a lovely idea, Russ. I didn't think of that. But by that time, because I hired a therapist at this point because I thought I was going crazy. A lovely lady.
But why did you think you were going? This is interesting. Why did you think?
Because I was living with it, I suppose. The whole house felt different. It changed from a joyous family home full of wonderful memories to that pungent, dour feel of an old people's home.
No,
that's what it felt like. And I would walk in and it would go and hit me. I'm quite sensitive. I can feel vibes. I don't know if that sounds like new age.
No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right. I know really Chantal's because I know her. I know she's picking on this and feeling this. It is. You walk in, you get that.
Yeah, it's like this dour energy that drags it out of you. And I came, and my therapist. Can I name her? Can I give her a plug?
Do what you like. Sure.
Rosie Whetstone. Her name is this unrelentingly compassionate, brilliant woman that just gives you this safe space, which I'll come on to in a minute. The need for safe space to process feelings. But I discovered this term called compassion fatigue, and I didn't even know that was a thing. But now I know what it is. And
you know it, Chantal? Compassion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're talking to a lot of doctors these days, they will say that a lot of them are suffering from compassion fatigue, but it's not dissimilar to how we as people in our own homes and our own lives feel that you
very much so much.
Yeah, and you just get to a point where you think you've got nothing left to give.
Yes, I remember saying that to her. I said, "I've literally got nothing for you." It starts with zealot. Stage 1 is zealot. I can do this, Superman. I can do this. I can manage everything. I've got this. I'm now the man of the house. I can do that. And then the next couple of stages, it's a little bit more, not quite so much attention paid, cutting corners, can't really be bothered. But when it goes to the far end, you turn it goes into zombie stage where it's just dead eyes and you have got nothing left to give. And then you feel guilty for that as well. So that answers.
If it helps, I think a lot of people who are watching this and listening all over the world, we've got listeners everywhere, as Chantal and knows, and Phil and I've worked hard to try and make that happen, especially Phil, to be honest. It's this. Everyone thinks, oh, it's just me. I'm not dealing with this well. When mum was in 4 different care homes, and I would drive up to the car park and I would have to steel myself. I did not want to get out the car. And part of me is saying, I don't want to do this. The other part of me is saying, you're disgusting as a human being. That's your mother. How dare you? Get off your ass, you pathetic little man, and get in and see your mum. And the other part saying, but you know it's going to be terrible. I steel myself, put on my mental armor, go in, do the best I could. She didn't know who I was for the last 2+ years, not a clue. And then I'd come out and I'd sit in my car and bawl my eyes out. And I'm not scared about saying that. I would just cry my eyes out.
Totally understand that, Russ. I totally get that. And my mum's dementia, she would actually say those things to me herself. She would say, what a way to treat your mother. I'm going to have a bloody home and it's all your fault. Shame my name's not Ashley. That's my daughter. It's sort of petty, really nasty. It scratched me once. Really nasty, unkind things that she would never normally say. Petty jealousies, like a child.
And I want to say something else. Let me say something else. I'm going to jump in because Chantal has a lot of medical in the family. But this. In the papers, especially in the tabloids, they keep banging on about horrible care home staff, as though everyone in a care home staff is a monster and mistreats their patients. Let me just tell you, these people are angels. I don't know what planet they come from. I don't know how they do. I'd sit there and the woman sitting next to mum would get her whole thing of orange juice. I saw it. Just throw it. And, get away from me, you bitch. And, and you think, who is it? She's not like that, though. She can't help it. She's not a horrible person.
Yeah.
And it was though the care home staff, no emotion, would deal with it. I haven't got enough nice things to say about them.
I could not agree more.
And me.
They were absolute, underpaid, I would add as well. Underpaid angels, absolute angels. Putting my mum in a care home felt like the ultimate betrayal for me.
Yeah.
And when she'd have a lucid day, I think, oh my God, I've made the ultimate mistake. Then my inner voice would say, he just wants to get rid of her because you just wanted the money. And none of that is true.
Oh.
But that was my own inner voice.
I'm sorry, but even if that was, Neil, the inner voice, putting someone into a care home, as anyone who has gone through it, it's not cheap. There's no way to do that for the money. I'm sorry. If anything, that's a drain on resources.
It wiped us out. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
I've been very open. I've been very open. It wiped us out. 14 years of it wiped us out.
Really?
Yeah, wiped us out completely.
Yeah, I had to do sums working out how long my mum might live because I was all tied in with the family finances. I actually had to do the most macabre sums, But and plus
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you on the usage of your words because you're beating yourself up. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't pretend to be. But you're going, they're macabre sums. They're not. You're being realistic.
Yeah. I know.
There's no magic money tree.
I realise
I did the same, Neil. I did the same thing, Chantal. All of us have to look at this and say, right, mum's going to live for X. This is the monthly cost, and it's thousands.
Yeah.
How long?
1,300 a week.
Cheap. I'll be honest with you. People.
One thing
I get it. I know.
One thing I understand what I'm going to do, Russ. I'm going to pay it forward to my daughter Ashley. I'm going to, when all the probate comes through and all that's done, I'm going to talk to the legal people. I'm going to make sure that within my power, she does not have to experience that. Whatever I can do within the law to protect her and have her forewarned and forearmed, because it's a learning curve and learning new things, complicated legal stuff. When you're grieving, it's a learning curve at the last time you need it. eventually I wrote a blog about it all. Perhaps that's why you saw it, Russ. That's why you invited me on. It's all on Facebook. I just wanted to get it all out, but it's had such a positive response. And if I can
look
just
at
say
this, I mean, this is from Kimmy. This is from Kimmy, who's been really sending lovely messages. I hope you've been seeing them, Neil. We could talk about all this together all day. Thank you. As selfish, it helps me sitting here next to my mum.
Hello, Kimmy. No. I know Kimmy from Facebook. She's a Facebook friend. Hi, Kimmy.
I was thinking though that it does. I don't know about you, but it makes me wonder how people who aren't so lucky that they can or afford or can't afford that kind of care, what on earth do they do? Because
you hit on a really good point there, because it was more like
what stress that would add as well. I mean, as if it's not bad enough what you're going through, witnessing a loved one going through what they're going through, and then you got the financial pressure on top of that. It's horrific.
Well, I was lucky in a sense, more by luck than judgment. I went to visit about 3 care homes. I chose one that looked like the best of the lot, and then I heard through a doctor that I actually had picked one of the best ones. As I say, more by luck than judgment. It was, can I name it? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Milverton Care Home in Surbiton. And the staff there, just absolute angels. One thing my therapist did tell me, though, there was a thing called the CQC, because I was terrified that I had that thing going on that, oh, my God, all care homes are rubbish. She's going to be mistreated and all that sort of stuff. But there is these certain standards, like the Care Quality Commission, CQC. So it does have to be at least of a certain standard. And the care home was nice. So a room was like a nice travel lodge room, shall we say. It certainly wasn't a dump, and it was nice people and nice grounds. Not that she could appreciate them. I mean, but really, if I can, like Kimmy says, she could hear us talking about this all day. I get what a strain it is. And we do feel guilty and don't, says the man that did, but don't.
But don't feel guilty. I'm going to give you a little example, Neil, if this helps at all. When eventually we managed to get Mum into a home, she lived in a small block of flats. It was a new block of flats, and all the people were of a certain age. It was a very small block. And I thought, they're going to hate me. They're going to see me, as you, I think, see yourself, Neil. I know you're not enough to say this, as some sort of monster just done away. Anyway, one day I was there sorting stuff out, and they came up to me, two of the neighbours. I thought, oh, I'm so going to get it now. And they just said, can we have a word? And I thought, oh, Christ. They went, we just want to thank you. Thank you so much. We thought she was going to burn the whole block down. Thank you. Really appreciate what you've done, Russell. Thank you. This is what we do, Chantal and Neil and Phil. We beat the crap out of ourselves, and we don't always see it as true. We're so, I don't know. That last comment, by the way, came from New York State. He's a very senior guy in the psychotherapeutic community. This is Azadon Brown up in New York State. Hello, even if you have the financial resources, placing our loved ones in a care home is sometimes in the best interest of those suffering with dementia.
I would say always in the best. Well, maybe not always, but I certainly see your point, sir. Yeah, she could not care for herself, and I mean, even for basic nursing qualifications, a friend of mine's qualifying at the moment. Even for basic stuff, not dementia, you need 2 or 3 years. Give me a microphone, I can do pretty well with stuff. But give me someone with dementia, I haven't got a clue. They're not my skills. And she needed that 24-hour nursing, not just care, nursing care. It just wasn't possible or affordable to do at home. But as I say, at the time, it did feel like the ultimate betrayal. And signing that blimmin' DNR, that do not resuscitate, that felt like bloody murder.
I can remember it like it was yesterday. They asked if I would sign it, and I said, and I thought about this, and then as I walked to the car, Neil, again pressing so many buttons, I thought, what have I just done?
Yeah.
What have I done here?
Yeah. It felt like murder. It felt like signing her death certificate. And I had to go.
But it was for the best. And Chantal's nodding. It was for the best. It's not a life. I feel so strongly about this.
No,
if you gave me the choice, if you said, Russ, you're going to get dementia and go through for 16 years, or you're going to get hit by a bus this afternoon, in all honesty, I would choose the bus this afternoon.
I would.
Over that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it for my kids. No. I wouldn't want it for my partner. I wouldn't want it for anybody.
I've already had the conversation with Ashley, my daughter. I said to her, darling, I'm in my right mind now. But if in the future I don't get like that, you must ask these questions. You must ask about the money. You must ask what's in it for you. Yes, you must. You must be informed of it, because if you're not, other people will be, and that's when you get vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? You must be.
Well,
it's
that's
not
why we
wrong.
that's why we had the guy from Nationwide. It's weird that today I did a pre-record with Sean Williamson from EastEnders and the guy
Yeah, I
from
know,
Nationwide,
Big fan.
from Nationwide, because especially the elderly are so. Mum was attacked left, right, and centre by scam artists.
Do you know? Touch wood.
Wow.
What? That never happened.
Chantel, hundreds.
That's
I was
Dozens,
lucky.
dreadful.
hundreds.
That never happened to me. That did not happen to me. Well, not as far as I knew. My mum was convinced that everyone was scamming her. Oh, they're trying to take all our money. They're stealing from us. But that was the dementia. That wasn't scammers.
Very paranoid. It puts people. I always said, if she thought she was the Queen of France and was happy, I could have lived with that if she was in a happy place. But she was so deeply paranoid, but she wasn't a paranoid person. She became so paranoid and recreated the most horrible life that she'd had. She hadn't had that life at all, but it was so three-dimensional. All the staff and everybody thought this was the fact. It was fiction. None of it was true.
I know.
But it was so believable.
I did on a lighter side when I was in lockdown. I get quite a few scam phone calls, but my landline number really is only people trying to sell me things or scams.
Of course.
And I did develop a habit of recording them, and I actually did a really good video where I busted the scammer in song titles alone. I was quite proud of that, but I was bored. I'll send you a copy of it, Russ, because I think it is quite funny. But yeah.
You see, the thing is, I know Phil's been very quiet, and I'm going to put myself on a bit of a limb.
Quiet, and I say not that you don't already know this, is because that I feel like a hypocrite getting involved in this conversation.
No, because you're lucky, Phil. You're lucky because you're 34. Because I know, 35. Wow, you're really getting old. But I know your parents. They're two of the most charming, active, delightful people. I'm thinking.
Wait, I've got other parents?
But yeah, the other parents, the ones I've met, the ones you bring out, not those two bastards who live in your house. Obviously, they're terrible, awful. That Linda Dave. Oh my God. But they're lovely, lovely people. And I wonder if going through your head thinking, shit, look what these guys are going through. I don't want that, because you don't want to think. I'm being very personal here, but you don't want to think that's ever going to happen to Ray and Linda. You don't, because they're fantastic people. I'm wondering if that's why you're so quiet, because it's a brutal thought.
Look, obviously, I dare say it crosses the mind in exactly the same way I'm sure it crosses their mind as well. But the only thing I cling on to is that it didn't happen with their parents. So, I mean, that's got to be a good sign. Even so, one can never take it for granted, especially in a day and age where people are living longer. You never know what causes these things. So never take for granted. But look, I think that what I do, I'm a great believer in live each day as it happens. And so there's no point of thinking what might be, because it might never be. But of course it crosses the mind. I'd be lying if I said otherwise.
This is good from Dave Sleet. Look at this gang. I had a friend that set up a pay to call 0845 number, and when the scammers and the like called, they would keep them on the phone for as long as possible for obvious reasons. Your mother's been listening. You better start saving, Phil. You're not going to be shoving her in a tent in the bottom of the garden, I can tell you that now. Now, have you got time to hang for 10 minutes, Neil? Can you hang with us?
I'll be delighted to.
Okay, because Chantel's actually here.
Should we lighten the mood?
Yeah, let's lighten the mood, for God's sake, before I slip my wrists.
Please, can we lighten the mood? Yes, thank goodness. Chantel is also here to talk about TV stuff. Chantel, seeing as we've actually given you 11 minutes, what have you got?
Just to position this for you, Neil, Chantel is the ex-CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles. This is not just someone we've picked up off the street. This is
we're not working moment.
Wait. Above, hold the front page, Chantel. I've got to tell you, on your recommendation, Surgeons Life in Their Hands, incredible, absolutely phenomenal program. I'm hooked completely.
Midnight Mass. Thank you for that. Started watching it yesterday. Thank you.
Good.
fair,
Well, I'm
Paul
glad
would
you spent
that,
it
even though I've watched
time wisely.
No, one quick bone to pick with you.
Another one.
Madame Blanc.
Did you not
Holy
like it?
God, what a pile of poo. It was terrible. I gave up. Just
No.
awful.
You obviously weren't in the right mood for it.
No,
I
no,
did
no. I
say it
tried
was
it
very
over 3
light.
days. Shanta, light? Christ, helium balloons are compared like lead compared to it. I tried it over 3 days.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just
Couldn't
no.
get through it.
No, I made 1.5 episodes before I started smashing my head against the wall.
Well, the audience of Channel 5 would disagree with you, Russ, I have to say.
I know.
Anyway.
I just couldn't do it.
We'll move it to the sidelines.
Please do. Please do.
Okay, I'm going to give you something very uplifting in every sense of the word to watch, which is called 14 Peaks, which is a documentary. It's a one-off documentary, an hour and a half, I think, no more than that. And it's actually about a Nepalese climber. But I have to stress that you don't have to even be interested in climbing, i.e. climbing mountains, to follow this extraordinary story of this guy who set out to climb 14 peaks above 8,000 meters over a 7-month period. The record...
And I just I out of breath running up the stairs.
I couldn't even do 14 branches of Lidl in 7 months. God.
The one person who'd done all of those 14 peaks before had done it over 7 years. Mm-hmm. And the 38-year-old Nepalese guy decided that he was going to do it over 7 months, which is nearly physically impossible. I'm not going to tell you what happens because you've absolutely got to watch it to find out.
And Jimmy wants to know what channel?
Netflix. It's in the cinema, but it's also on Netflix, and it's called 14 Peaks.
Chantel, apart from anything, we all want to peak too early, so
don't peak too early. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but you've got to watch. He's really, really good, and he does it for many reasons, mostly because he's a bit crackers, to be honest, and literally had to sort of push himself to the world's limits to achieve these 14 peaks. But he does it for all sorts of reasons, and there's a backstory of his mother is unwell, his brother's furious that he's given up a good job in the army, his wife has had to remortgage the house to pay for it, so there's a whole lot of other stuff going on at the same time. But it's really
we absolutely don't want to give away the ending, but here's a clue. No, might I say that one thing I absolutely might I suggest one thing I absolutely feel really sorry for is the camera crew. I assume there had to be several crews involved because otherwise they would have all done the challenge as well.
Well, there were different camera crews. You're right about that. They swapped all the time because those people couldn't have done the 14 climbs. I mean, that is so exceptional. I mean, it's never been done by anybody before. So clearly the support teams were different for quite a lot of the individual climbs. But it gets very exciting in the middle, and at one stage he's just about to do the last climb and the Chinese shut the borders and say that he can't come in, and then he has to get a whole sort of social media following and get as many people on the planet to start writing to the Chinese officials to see whether they will open the borders specifically to let him in. Anyway, it's very exciting, it's beautifully filmed, and it's a really uplifting story in so many ways.
Peaks, and that's on Netflix. And Paul Claridge's message to say, I've got an idea for an uplifting TV show, Up and Away, a history of cranes and elevators. But I would suggest as well that I hadn't, he's trying to be flippant, but I genuinely had an idea for a TV show the other day, and I don't mind sharing this because I don't have time to make it. So if someone can make it, I would love it. I think it'd be incredible. Why is no one following life from within quarantine hotels? Quarantine hotels from within, actually following the stories of those who are stuck in there. It's basically Big Brother, but less glamorous. I think it would be incredible.
Okay, well, I'll let you write that one up. I'll tell you the people to go and pitch it to.
Thank you very much. Excellent.
Anyway, there used to be a program that the BBC did years and years and years ago about a steeplejack, and I cannot remember his name.
Fred Dibner.
Fred Dibner, and it became an absolute cult classic. So, Paul, try and find the old Fred Dibner series, because I think that will definitely amuse you somewhat.
Can I just say quickly, I've got a friend here who just stuck her head round the door and said she actually talked to someone in a quarantine hotel yesterday. So if you did decide you want to make the series, I've literally got her. She's 5 meters away.
First contributed books.
Wow.
Fantastic. There you go. Excellent. I'll get right into treatment this weekend.
Yeah. It's all about networking.
Always
Very
about
good.
network, yes. Very good.
Anyway, when you've watched that, because that's only 90 minutes, so there's lots more telly time to watch, try something. It was a documentary series that came out a year ago on Netflix that I missed. It was called Trial by Media. George Clooney is the executive producer of it. It's a very, very well put together 6-part documentary series about the criminal justice system and how the media comes into play and how the lawyers basically tinker with the storytelling and create theatre in the court to basically befuddle everybody. It's absolutely fascinating to see how it's played out over 6 different stories, one of which is a great story. I didn't know. I say a great story. Sadly, somebody lost their life, but it was because of the Jenny Jones series on television, and it was one of those reveals. Somebody fancies you. I'm bringing you into the studio to tell you about this. And a young man was brought into the studio to meet somebody who had a crush on him, and it turned out to be another young man. The whole thing went horribly wrong because the person who had been embarrassed by this then murdered the other guy. And then then it went to court, and there were 2 court cases, one for the person who had committed the crime, but then they tried to sue Warner Brothers. So you get both of those court stories played alongside. It's absolutely fascinating as a series. I've watched all 6 episodes, and they're all as good as each other. It's really worth watching. And that is called Trial by Media, and it's also on Netflix.
That one you're talking about, I actually saw that about a week ago, so it's very fresh in my mind. Yeah, absolutely. But you're right, absolutely compelling, and how they create theatre out of it, I find it's kind of a bit sick, really.
It's sort of a little bit sort of the curiosity, and yet it's vomit worthy at the same time. You can't because it's a really. I hate it. It's the word everyone uses when they try and sound intelligent, but it's juxtaposed, isn't it? You feel like you want to watch it for the entertainment value, and yet morally you feel it's wrong. But anyway,
see, I was glued to the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I've been glued to this idiot Jesse Smollett, who I hope gets banged up for a long time. You know, it's extraordinary.
Who absolutely didn't do this to boost his profile.
Okay, and one last thing. If you want to watch people that I think personally are very, very bonkers, watch The Cult of Conspiracy, which is about QAnon. It's a Channel 4 documentary that came out this week. I think they're all barking mad, frankly. So, but it is worth watching just to get some level of understanding how crazy these people are. QAnon really came to the fore over the last 3 or 4 years. But if you remember, there was a guy with horns at
the Capital Shaman, I think they called him. The shaman.
And he was part of QAnon. QAnon is this cult that is supposed to be all about Satanism and children, and it's absolutely bizarre in the extreme, but it's really worth seeing how crazy people can get who are utterly manipulated by bad people. Generally.
And his mum, the best bit about that was his mum said, I can't remember what his real name is, call him Barry. Barry's such a quiet boy in real life. It's expressed like a raving lunatic, attacking the cap. You know, he loves music, and he just stays in his room. And I'm thinking,
of course,
you don't know who you're living with, do you?
But hang on a second, Russell. As of course we both know from experience on these programs, is that sometimes people have to put on a front to sort of feel like they can be their true selves. So, that was jolly good. Have we got anything you can tell us in 20 seconds? Because if not,
20 seconds. If you haven't seen it, watch The Wife, which is on the BBC. It's a movie with Glenn Close. It's the best thing she ever did.
The Wife on the BBC. Thank you very much
on the
indeed.
BBC iPlayer.
That's, I'm afraid, all we got time for today. My goodness me, today's gone very, very quickly, hasn't it? Then again, having said that, it was quite a busy program, I guess. So all we need to do is to say thank you very much to Ed Fisher, to Sean Williamson. Thank you, Neil Long. Thank you very much to Chantal Rickards.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for all of your comments. Russ, should we do this all over again on Monday?
Be rude not to. Monday, 12 noon, be there or be square.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So whatever you're up to, have yourself a superb weekend. Stay safe, stay happy, and we'll see you Monday at midday. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, gang.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.